So, hi everyone. Today we are taking the still on the recruitment training. We're proceeding to consider recruitment, selection, placement, and onboarding in the recruitment process. So, I will continue. If you do have questions, please ensure to take note, and at the end of the session, we'll take all the questions together. So, let's just proceed into the class. Now, remember, in the course of this training, we have considered a detailed introduction to recruitment. Then we have also considered job planning. We discussed also job analysis. We considered job description, job specification, and job design. And today we are now continuing with uh, recruitment, placement, recruitment selection, placement, and onboarding. So now let's just go into it right. Now, what then is recruitment so that we understand exactly what we are doing? So now, recruitment practically means or so there's a process of sourcing talent or sourcing a workforce to execute certain job functions or responsibilities for an employer. So we'll say in a nutshell that recruitment is a search for prospective employees, right? Prospective employees, workforce, people, personnel, staff, whichever we want to be prospective. That's more like prospective employees in order to take on responsibilities. And how do we do this? Through job description and job requirements, of course, and these things are represented in the job specification and the job description that we put out on advert boards. Okay, so let me take another definition of recruitment. So we say recruitment is the overall process of identifying, sourcing, screening, shortlisting, interviewing candidates for job functions uh, and for employment purposes within an organization. So now moving ahead, I want us to, so in a nutshell, if we've come to understand what we're saying to us about what recruitment is all about, how recruitment uh, and what recruitment will do for an organization, let's just go ahead to talk about the sources of recruitment. So what are the sources of recruitment? Now, we have internal sources for recruitment. If we say recruitment is the process of just searching for people, being conducting a search for people, for talent, for human resources required to carry out certain. So it means that um, we should have sources to where we should have places where we can source for these people. That's certainly how we want to consider this recruitment. So we're going to break it into internal and external sources. So now starting with the internal sources, what internal sources of recruitment will definitely refers to sourcing people from within the company, right? So we are doing the recruitment within the company, not outside of the organization. Now, what does this practically mean? It means that we are not looking to hire people who are outside, who are not currently employed by the organization. So we'll hire people right within the organization. Now, let's give examples of internal sources of recruitment. Now, promotion is one of the internal sources of recruitment. We are looking to hire a supervisor, maybe let's say a team lead, a sales team lead. So instead of us going out to hire a new sales team lead who has no knowledge about the organization, we say rather than do that, let's look out for the best performing staff within the organization, within that sales team, and say, okay, promote this person to become the team lead of that group or that team. So that's one way of recruiting for that position. So we don't get to recruit from outside or give them a totally new person, but we just pick maybe they're a team of 10, just pick one person who is the most who is more like a leader figure there and doing very well, motivating others. So we bring on such a person to become the leader of the team by promotion. Then another one is transfers. where people can be transferred from one department to the other. Now, take for instance, where people can be transferred from finance to marketing, or from marketing to customer service, or from customer service to operations or to store. It all the or to inventory, not to store, store and inventory. So people can be transferred. So it does internal transfer or transferred external transfers, more like from branch A to branch B, or from branch state A to state B. So when they are transferred there, that's when maybe this branch is on the staff, so they move this particular staff from this branch to where we have redundant staff, so move them to another branch where they will put in good use. So that's another form of recruitment. So and the third one is job posting. So now in the instance where we handle, so we've talked about promotions, we talked about transfers, now we're considering job posting. So job posting is more like another way of recruitment where we're hiring people from within the organization. So still within the organization, so we changed, I just made reference to that and while I was discussing about the transfers, where we change the job description of people, uh, like I said, where people are moved from a particular job role, from maybe accounting to inventory, something that is they are similar, but we move them there, or moving somebody from operations to inventory and procurement. So it all depends. That's another form of recruitment. Then another one on it is the fourth, which is the employee referrals. So we can ask already established or already working employee who have good relationship with the organization, or who are currently doing well in the organization. So we can ask them to refer their friends, or not just refer their friends, sorry. So we were saying we can ask them to refer competent profiles for the role. Take for instance, if somebody is a very good salesperson, so one of the things that we can do is that, okay, do you have friends? Do you have colleagues? Do you have people, maybe like people you know who can also do sales very well, because they are doing sales very well? It means, because now we are taking into consideration of the fact that um because we say show me your friend and I will tell you things like, so we're using that consideration to say, okay, if this person is good at this, it means that they will have friends within that circle and they can be hired to take on responsibilities in that role. So these are some of the ways recruitment is done. So if we have somebody who is good, let's say in good digital marketing, or good in graphics design, good in software development, you don't want to go and start. So you say, okay, can you have friends who can also do this thing that you're doing very well? So we'll bring them on. So they refer. Now that's the same way it is where the HR manager comes in and say, okay, so um, we have an opening. So if you do have somebody you would like to join the team, so we'll ask you to submit their CV. So they send their CV, the CV of whoever it is to the HR. So the HR now invites the people. Because now it's much easier, because it's not trusted. This is a trusted space. Of course, maybe let's say it's within accounts or within finance, or maybe in inventory where we require trust. So in those kind of places, we want also referrals, because if you're as a staff, if you're referring somebody who is a thief, or who pilfers, or um who does not value their work very well, that's also a red flag for you as a staff. So you don't want to refer someone who will come and dent your own image in that organization. So that's it. So they believe that if you're going to refer someone, then that person must be very good. So that's the essence of those referrals and recommendation. Then let's talk about external sources. So external sources, what would that be? So that's just like getting suitable persons from outside of the organization when existing employees are considered unsuitable. So if we cannot promote anybody to that role, or we cannot change job description of people, maybe like move somebody from accounting to inventory. So it means, okay, let's just go ahead and hire somebody freshly who just handle inventory and procurement. So now examples of that would now be examples of external recruitment would be a recommendation from our friends and also from relatives. Yes, so we talked about that. The media advertising, where we go to media's different forms of like we have our social medias, we have digital boards, and to publish the vacancies. Then another one is to also reach out, maybe go to visit other organizations, or check out for other people who do so well in that role for other organizations, and maybe want to pitch them over. Then employment agencies like recruitment agencies can be used as well. Then direct recruitment, more like posting on job boards so you can get application directly submitted to the organization. Then professional associations like professional bodies for looking to hire a chartered accountant. So instead of going through that, so you can just reach out to a professional body to provide us with one of their chartered accountants so we can go ahead and employ them because they have certified that this person is a professional. Then another one is the like a management consultant and an unsolicited applications. Unsolicited application are people who just show up in the organizations and say, okay, I just want to drop my CV in case there's an opening, things like that. So in that instance, those CVs are received and kept as unsolicited applications. So when there are openings, you can just go and refer to those CVs. We have very good ones, so you can just reach out to those people and say, okay, we have something for you. So you can just show up and get that. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and talk about the steps to selection. So now we are on to the selection. So selection practically means here what definitely is selection, right? Because we considered recruitment. Let's not talk about selection. So selection is the process of choosing people by obtaining and examining information about the applicants, which is matching the job requirements as long as alongside the details about that particular employee or that particular applicant. I mean, so now in this instance, we'll say in a nutshell what selection is all about is selection practically means from the pool of application that we have received, or from the pool of CV that we have received, or from the pool of profiles in a database. Now, for us to identify who is fit for this role, out of that 1,000 application, how do we downsize? We just only want one person and 1,000 people are applied. Now, how do we downsize? How do we get? So that process of downsizing to picking the right person that's suitable for that role is what we call selection, right? So that is that. Now, what are the types of selection? So that's the various types of selection that is employed. Of course, sometimes all these types of selections are employed, but is on a they are often on rare cases where all those are deployed. For majority, you have over 70 to 80% of it deployed during the selection process. While for some of the that are very strict, 100% of them are fully deployed. So they deploy every single one of them. So now starting on the steps to selection is what the screening, where the applicant's profile is properly screened uh, for for conflict of data, where somebody will say, okay, I graduated in 2015, only then and I started but I started working in 2014, and I'm writing my NYC to be in 2017. So there's a lot of conflict of information in that place. So if you graduated in 2015, you did NYC in 2017. Of course, there are possibilities about it. Then you started working in, let's say, you started working in 2010. So when exactly? Now, it's not even an internship. You're saying, okay, you started working. You were working and studying. You're saying, no, it's not like it's the work and study. You fully concentrated in school. So how do you differentiate that you were working, started working at 2012 and you graduated at 2015? And went to service at 2017. Okay, did you have a delay in your result? Why did you go for NYC 2 years after graduation? Nothing. So there's no tangible reasons. The other flip side of it could be you graduated in 2017 and you went for NYC in 2016. So how, like, what's the conflict of information? Then some people can claim to that, okay, they have worked as a manager on their CV. Say, okay, that they were that they worked as an admin manager, while they just worked as an admin assistant, not even an admin officer. They worked as an admin assistant. So in that instance, you want to find out, okay, you said you worked as an admin manager. What did you actually manage? Did you manage processes, people, systems? What did you manage actually? So these are some of the what the screening will do. So probing information. So what screening practically means is probing the personal details of that individual to ensure that it is real. Then another form where in probing information could be I'll just write in my maybe in my while I'm preparing my CV or the CV that I submitted as an applicant. I'm writing that my address is in Lagos and my current place of employment is in Kaduna, right? So I'm working in is saying till date. So I'm working at Beloxi in Kaduna factory. I'm working at Beloxi Kaduna factory. I started working there since 2021, and I've been working there till date. Have I resigned? No. Okay, so how can I have a Lagos address but I'm working in Kaduna? So you see, these are some form of discrepancies where screening comes in. So in order to the back and forth of trying to establish, okay, are you practically in Lagos, or what's going on, or is it that you have a residence in Lagos but you work in Abuja in Kaduna? So all those kind of conflict of information where you now need to explain to your HR manager, like, because they conflict. How can you be living in Lagos and you're working in Kaduna? It's not like we have efficient like you have like a daily train system that can take you to Kaduna and back on a daily basis. So okay, that's that. Then we go on to talk about the selection test, where we administer some level of test to test for skills, test for expertise, test for the skills level, test for. So you say you can do this thing. Oh yeah, come and do it before we begin. You say you're a software developer, you can program this, you can program heaven and earth. Come and test it. Let's see what you can do. Let's test your capability. Let's test what you can do. So we set aptitude tests, interest tests, personality tests. We conduct all kinds of tests, even numerical tests. We conduct so that we understand even computer tests as well, and basically, so a lot of tests that we want to consider in relation to the job. So if this job demands that you have to be computer literate, we have to test you for computer skills. It's not like, okay, I can do Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. See, take system start working. Give you, oh yeah, type. Let's see your typing speed per minute, or typing speed. Yes, let's see your typing speed per minute, and we'll see that. So you cannot claim that you have this. So we want to put it to test. Do it. Let's see. You can develop software. We'll give you a little project. Execute it and let us see. So these are the things that we when it comes to testing. Then we talk about interview. After the screening, we talk about selection test. Like I just explained now, where we test those skills or claims of people to ascertain the verity of it. Then we'll move on to interview with them. So what interview practically means is to hold. It could be virtual, it could be via that is virtual, via telephone, online, audio video call, audio video visual calls. It could be via text messages, then via chat as well. We could then afterwards we could now also have a physical on-site interview. So could be virtual or on-site. It all depends. So, but whatever it means is that we are having a conversation, right? A two-way conversation to asking of questions and getting answers, response. So during that processes, we are observing a whole lot of things. So it's not like, okay, just asking questions. No. While questions are being asked, it's not like for you to just answer. Of course, those questions could also be asked to you via email, and you just provide a response to it. And while in the interview, during the interview, there's a whole lot that is going on where we want to watch out a whole lot of things, both demeanor. We're watching out also for non-verbal cues. We're watching out for a whole lot of things. Conflict of information. You may have written something else in your CV, replied to some preliminaries in your mail. Then when you are saying something, when you in the virtual or physical on-site interview, you are saying something completely different. So your CV is saying one, your interview is saying another one. That's your written interview saying one. Then your on-site or virtual interview is saying another thing. So you see, there's conflict of information. It means that such candidates. So these are the ways we are now downsizing, right? These are the ways we are downsizing all those 1,000 people to get to the right person, the one person that we are looking for. So now we've talked about screening, we talked about selection, we talked about interview. So that interview, we're asking questions to get critical information, also to pay attention to non-verbal cues, to unspoken words. Then when we are done with that and we're satisfied with it, then we'll go ahead. The next one is now a reference checks and background verification. So now we now have to go and verify. You claimed you worked at Beloxi, right? So we verify from Beloxi. Oh, did Mr. Ade one Mr. Ade Chinedu work? Did they work in Beloxi from 2021 till 2025? So we'll get those records, and there's a confirmation that Mr. Ade Chinedu worked in Beloxi Kaduna branch 2021. These are the verifications and the background check. During this period, what was your relationship with other people like? Then were you more like what like you want to get some like a summary on your performance report. So that's why it's always important now. Advices are given to professionals to maintain good behaviors and of the best behaviors where they work, because often when reference checks are made, information are also gathered from past employers to determine the fate of um, future opportunities. Then background check, where we verify details about the guarantors, verify police records, criminal records, to verify then a lot of a lot of all these verifications are done to ascertain that everything is complete, and verify the certificates, that certificates are not forged, that you claim you have a certificate with this, a certificate from that. So reach out to those organizations to say, okay, this person trained during this XYZ so period or that, and they verify that yes, this candidate was trained, and so these are the verifications that are done, and even more. Then we'll go ahead to talk about medicals. So after that, we've now ascertained that. So we'll go into medicals where an examination is done medically. So we have our HMO, through the HMO, and at the end of the day, we're certified fit. So we don't want someone who is asthmatic working in the factory where there are going to be chemicals and the rest of that. Yes, the chemicals are not like hazardous, but some chemicals sometimes, what if it chokes that person, and we don't want fatalities within this space. So of course possibly they can work in other sections where they cannot perceive some odors or some smells of that will irritate them, or that can stir up their crisis. So we don't want such situation. Okay, and then move on to management approval. So once all these things has been done, we've screened, we've tested, interviewed, done background check, move them to management for approvals. Once management approves that these people can now join the organization, then they are now properly placed to engage their role effectively, which placement is the last one of it. So these are the various steps to selection. So now let's consider selection criteria, right? So now what exactly is selection criteria? So we're now saying selection criteria is the essential standard or benchmark that we put in order to say this is exactly who comes in, who gets in. So it's more like a filter net. It's more like a filter, a sieve that is placed in the pool to ensure that okay, we're not lowering the standard for this person, and we're not increasing the standard for another person. No, the standard is the same for A and is the same for B. It remains the same. It is not changing. So it is going to be the same thing regardless of who it is coming from. Take for instance, okay, this person is a relative of the GM or of the so it means they are going no standard is going to be lowered for nobody, right? So at the end of the day, everybody goes through the same process. Of course, the opportunities that they might get will be that they'll definitely be interviewed. They are going to be interviewed. So, must they meet the criteria? Yes, because there's going to be a documentation that will be sent to the management. So if who signed off on the management, or is it because this person is related? So you cannot say because somebody is related and opportunities are given out. If they are opportunities, let whoever it is that is referring them give them the job. So leave out the HR manager out of it. So in that instance, you're exonerated when the whole things or the pack of cards starts falling. So those are the issues here. So selection criteria, in a nutshell or in summary, is practically the sieve that is put in place to filter or while the process of downsizing is going on, up to downsizing the application is going on. So we know who stays, who is fit, who is considered fit for the role or not. Okay, now these steps to certain job criteria. So now we're going to be liaising with concerned person in order to set that criteria to say, okay, this is the standard by which we are going to say this person is fit for this role, or we are going to be hiring for this role. We cannot just say, okay, take for instance that we're hiring for the procurement department. So we're hiring for a for procurement officers, not just one procurement. Basically, we hire for three procurement officers. So now, if we hire for three procurement officers from departments as HR personnel, We're not just going to sit down within our space and say, okay, procurement is just somebody that can buy something, right? Everybody can buy something now. If anybody can go and purchase anything. So, but the question is, if anybody can go and purchase anything, then why should people go and specialize in procurement and supply chain? So it means that there is more to procurement, there's more to purchasing, right? There's more to it. So now, this means we're going to have to sit with the head of that department to get details about that job. What kind of person are they looking out for, right? So now, even though the person might be so intelligent, but there's kind of person that is required for that particular role. So you get all those details from the head of that department. They give you all the information because with each of the roles, there are unique attributes or unique requirements for each of the roles. So it's for the manager or the supervisor or the lead of that particular department to provide those basic information because whoever it is that's finally employed, they will have to work with that person. So it means from the go, they need to get the right person. They need the right kind of person for the role in the first instance. So now have to liaise with the concerned parties. Concerned parties definitely would be the heads of department, the department directly, and that's the supervisors or the chain of command there. Then we'll go ahead to also conduct a vacancy needs assessment. Now, what's the vacancy needs assessment here? Would be if the head of the department is splitting a demand for five, they need five people who will function as procurement and store officers. So they're going to be handling procurement and also doubling as store officers within or inventory officers within that organization. So the HR person is going to find out, do we exactly need five? Or are we sure that it is five we need? Or can't we manage three? Can't we manage two? Can't we work with two? These are the questions that the HR now do. So they do a needs assessment. It is from the reports that they get. Remember, when we were considering HR planning yesterday, I discussed extensively about discussing about so that we don't go to hire and at the end of the day, into 3, 4, 5 months, we want to fire because we find out that the people are redundant. We actually do not need that number. So now, in that instance, a proper needs assessment is done. Now, for instance, it might just be we only want one person, and we're saying we need a procurement, and we practically do not need a procurement officer for that role. People are already there. So if people are already there, we want to find out, can these people function in that capacity? Or can we share the job description that this HR manager is saying, or the team lead of that department is saying that they need? So we will find out, is this a job function that can be shared among the existing staff there, or do we truly need someone else? So that needs assessment verifies and certifies that we truly need someone else there before we proceed um, uh, to recruiting for such. Then we create a report on our findings. So once we have liaised, we conduct a verification report to ascertain that this vacancy is required, is needed, and can be and must be and should be filled. So we go ahead to create our report. So our report is now what will be forwarded to the management so that the management can sign off on it. Then we'll go ahead to develop a list of qualities that, of course, the details that we have gathered from um, the um, the team lead. So they give us those information, and that's what we're going to be working with. Then when we get approvals from management, we go ahead and implement the recruitment process. So that said, this brings us to the steps to take with regards to the job, setting a job criteria. Now, let's go ahead to talk about screening the applications. Now, we've set all these applications, when we set all this criteria for the job, we now go ahead and because we've gotten approval, we'll go ahead and list the vacancies. So once vacancies are listed, automatically we begin to get applications. So once we get applications for those roles, what we're going to be talking about now is screening. I've earlier made mention about that in the recruitment process when I talked about screening the profiles, right? Testing them, interviewing. I made mention of all those. So now we're back to that place. I say we've gotten approvals to publish this vacancy. We've certified that it is needed, gotten approval, and we've published this vacancy. Once we've received the application, the first step is screening the application. So now screening the application, already made discussed in detail about that. So it's just about vetting what this person has said, vetting the information that is there to ensure that somebody is not lying on their CV. That's why it's always important. We tell people not to, don't overstretch, don't lie on it. Just say it as it is. But that does not mean saying it as it is now become mediocre. There are ways you present information. Yes, that will still is true, and but yet it is more attractive. It sheds more light in gray areas. That's what people are expected to do on their CV, and not inflate figures or lie about figures. Take for instance, if I begin to say, okay, I worked as a salesperson. While I was working as a salesperson, I was meeting my target back to back consistently. I never defaulted on my target. That's why I won. Then what was my target? My target was like 100 million every month, and I was meeting it every month. Okay. Then a lot of, so I say a whole lot of things. Possibly, say, this person is a performer, and will now pick the CV only to get to the interviewing stage, and it says, the what I meant on my CV. So I'm now defending myself as the applicant. I'm not saying, no, what I meant on my CV is that I hope to, like, I'm always optimistic to deliver 100%, but it's not like I always deliver 100%. So that's more like a double standard. You wrote 100%, and I say it's not like you are delivering 100, but you're the kind of person that like to deliver 100%. Okay, so how many percentage are you practically delivering? I don't know, because we're working as a team. So then how did you come about the 100% that you were talking about? Okay, now let's talk about the 100 million that you said you were making. Okay, so how were you delivered? So this 100 million, is it an individual target or a team target? And I'm not coming to say that it is a team target. How can I claim a team target as personal target? It makes no sense, right? If that's a different, even as a supervisor, if my target as a supervisor or a team lead is 100 million, I'm going to be making it very clear that I was able to deliver it with my team, right? I was able to work with my team to deliver on a target of this. So I'm not going to come and say that as I single-handedly delivered. If you have single-handedly delivering something and doing it as a team, they're not the same thing. Because even as a team, somebody may have contributed more than you did in the delivery of that particular target. So these are the things that we're talking about. So if we're going to focus on, like, if as an applicant, if I'm going to work on provide this information, it means that I have to get real data about my own performance, and that's what I'm going to be putting on my CV. And as a HR person, that's why I will also pay attention to all those kind of figures and quotations. I want to be very clear. Are you putting these figures? You're saying I improved processes by so percentage. I was able to do this. I was able to retain customers. I was able to do that, do that, do that. I was able to transform, improve. I'm quoting percentages. So how did I come about those figures? I cannot defend them. Then there's an issue, right? So these are things that the HR personnel goes through, vets through, where they are looking for. So we don't want to bring people who go about quoting figures, and at the end of the day, the figures make no sense. So if we are quoting, so it's very clear, okay, this was what was delivered, and we delivered it, and they are verifiable. Remember that there's a verification report that's going to be delivered, that's going to be conducted on the personnel. So these are the things I want to do. As we don't want to skip that, so don't look incompetent as HR personnel. Okay, so that's what screening of application will do. Now, part of the screening process, so the preliminary screening procedures by human resource managers, of course, we're going to be setting destinations for all applicants to, like, where everybody needs to send their applications to. So if it's via a link, they are going to be applying via a link, then they will do the applications via a link. And if they're going to be sending the applications through an email, then it has to be. So that's more like our process. Now, if we are asked, that's why it's always important when we see people, you are asked to submit an application via a link. Don't, because you have you've been contacted before by the HR, or you have an insider that gives you the email address of the HR, so you forward your CV directly to the email of the HR. It won't count, right? Because all the pool, when the work begins in full scale, it is from that particular designated place that all this will be done. Yes, take for instance, if they have already found the quality of number of people that is required, going to other places where people pass through those, pass their information or pass their profiles through, may not be so feasible, because when people can pay attention to that, is that maybe all through this number of applications, the HR does not find the details or find the required fit, then they can begin to consider other the ones that fell by the sideways. So that's why HR manager, as a HR personnel, you focus on the applications through the right means or through the right channel. So if it is through an email address, let it be through the email address. If it is, that means it means that the screening will be in that email address. Every other person will be every other channel will be considered secondary, right? Then the next one is to identify and to probe irregularities, like I talked about. I've been talking about probe irregularities in the application of the applicant. Then we are also going to administer psychometric tests and as well as skill tests, all kinds of tests. I discussed about this earlier when I was talking about screening. Then we'll schedule for interview afterwards when all this is done. Okay, that said, it means that once we have done that, we can proceed to testing these candidates. So we have screened, we can now proceed to testing. So, like I said earlier, that testing or administering tests. So that is on the applications that we receive is somewhat is different from the screening. So, but it's still towards the same purpose. Now, administering tests is practically to also test. We want to like a psychometric test, skills test. Let's say it requires the use of computer, IT literacy. We want to test for that. We want to test for different things. Now, if it is something that is strength based, right? Yes, some people may not have that so physical, but they are very strong. They are agile. They can do. It's not like okay because this person is heavily built that strength is not weighed by that. There's some people they may be lanky, but yet they are very very strong. They can withstand a lot of pressure. So we put them to the test. Okay, you say you can handle this. Okay, you are giving let's say or yeah, maybe if it's to offload certain things, and maybe I'm talking about floor level jobs now. Okay, can you let go lift and rest of that? So they test all these things. Of course, we've done some checks in place so the person does not go and collapse there. And that's the essence of this test. Then if it is psychometric test, we're putting them to it. If it is skills test, you say you can develop this software. Oh yeah, see system, see the development platform I'm going to start developing. Let us see. You have 1 hour to get this done, or you have 3 hours to get this done, and they get to it already. Then if we say we can do maybe we have systems, we can prepare slides, we can do oh yeah, take the system, prepare the slides, do a slide on this, let us see. And you get to it immediately. And at the end of the day, we are certain that good job is done. So that's what test administration is all about. That thing you say you can do, come and do it and let us see. That's what test administration is all about. We put them to the test, let them deliver on what they have said they can do. I can do this, I can do that, I can deliver this, I can do, I can, in fact, I can move the mountains. Come and start doing and let us see. So that's what it is. So test practically tests for the level of competency of that particular candidate and not just their words only. So now, what's the steps used in administering tests or interview tests? Definitely be to determine that's to determine questions and that will be asked. So we sit down, find out okay, what kind of questions that we're going to be asking there. Of course, if for that particular one, the test administration is about asking of questions and the rest of that. Then we'll go ahead to set questions, map the questions, and as well as review the questions. That if it is the one that needs to be question based, but if the one that is skill based, they have to go and implement it and let us see. If it is practical, let us see it, let them test it, let us see it. So take for instance, you say you are a baker, you can bake, and you say, oh, yeah, this is flour. These are the things that ingredients are required to bake. Bake. Let us see the quality of loaf that you can deliver, or bake produce a cake. Let us see the quality of cake that you can make. You say you're a chef. Oh yeah, produce. We want you to help us deliver. Let's say you can do intercontinental dishes. Let's see the quality of food that you can make. That's it. So put them to the test, and that's what could be. So now types of selection tests here. We'll have aptitude tests, right? That can be administered. So at the aptitude tests generally test their mental ability, intelligence, and specific aptitudes as well. So we'll have types of tests: aptitude test, psychometry, that is psychomotor test. The psychomotor test for the dexterity of the person's their ability as well, their eye coordination, that is of the individual. So now we're paying close attention to all those. So then we also have the job knowledge test. So want to be certain that you say you know this job, I can do this job, I can do this, the knowledge. So want to understand the not the level of knowledge you have about that particular job. So we put them to the test, like I just made mention, talking about the chef and also the baker. Then the vocational test. So if you say these are for the vocational jobs, so ask them, oh yeah, get to it, and they go ahead to test the for that is for to test their vocational skills that's they have learned. So we want to see them to use. Then personality test as well. We want to find out the kind of person that they are, their emotions, their reactions, what it will be. And for instance, if they are pushed, let's see what their reaction will be. Or if they get to some severe situations, what would their reaction be? We want to see practically what that is. Then group discussion. So we can just say, okay, when it comes to socialization, so now I want to place them in group discussions. Let's see. That's want to identify socialization, want to identify the ability to socialize, the ability to lead. So I cannot say I'm a very social person. Like so, they'll put you in the group discussion. You're just listening, you're just sitting down there, and you're just looking, or you are so reserved, you are withdrawn, or maybe while you're having a group discussion, and that person says, "I'm not sure what you're saying is correct, Joe." So you just withdraw from the conversation. So, or I must, if somebody makes such a statement and you flare up, why would you say that you're not sure? Do you know then there's exchange of words, you're flaring up, everybody's abusing themselves in that. So these are things that they watch out for to see coordination. So of course, when you have people in a group, there's tendency for one person to offend the other. There's tendency for an abuse. There's tendency. So how you manage the situation is practically what would play out. So that's what the HR also be observing in those group discussions. So you can say, okay, we bring the group together. Let's have a conversation on this, and everybody's talking. We want to see their contribution, the level of intelligence, their knowledge level on that particular job. Want to see it. They want to also are measuring for leadership, ability for leadership, so ability for coordination. So to start a conversation as well, to carry on with a conversation, or to even encourage others to speak. So these are the things. So a lot of things in this kind of we're also going to be paying attention to when it comes to group discussions. All these are various ways, and other forms are still beyond this are still available to test for based on whatever it is that the organization wants to achieve or wants to employ for with regards to the there's this placement that they want to do. Okay, now that said, it moves us to the next point that we're going to be considering, which is interview. So if we have successfully done our screening. So we administer our tests. Now we have we are now skilled. So remember that when we screen, we're able to identify some profiles that stand out. Some profiles that so the profiles that did not meet the requirement actually are saved aside. So because some people will just apply, just randomly. Everybody's when you see some vacancies, some people will just randomly apply. You see an engineering job, and somebody that did accounting is applying, people just applying. It's the current situation of the things in possibly in the economy that's causing that, where a lot of people apply for multiple jobs that they have no so you see head of marketing, somebody that's just a fresh graduate is applying as head of marketing. What do you want to come ahead there? So as a HR person, of course, it's going to take much of your time to see through all this and to downsize all of them. So by the time when we are done, we'll get so we are pulling out the real people who are fit for the job role, so that we now move them to the place of test administration. So that's that. So people who now succeed in the place of test administration are now moved to interviewing, right? So I'll move them to interview. What exactly is interviewing here? Interviewing, like I've already talked about, so it could be virtual, but could also be um, on site. So then we'll put the other, so we'll discuss that when we get there. So the interview is just to have a conversation with that person to find out, to ask questions, and not just ask questions and get answers, but there are a lot of answers that you want to get. Take for instance, I was making mention the other time when I discussed about interview. I was saying interview when I'm having an on-site interview. Now I'm not just asking you questions just because I just want to hear you speak. I want to also pay attention to a lot of things, right? How you respond to questions is very important. Your presentation also matters. So as a HR person, take for instance, for hiring for a personal assistant now, so we don't want a personal assistant to the MD. So it means that whoever it is that we're hiring should be a very highly effective person. We don't just want to hire a mediocre person to function in that capacity. That's one. Then, or take for instance, we want to hire for someone for business development or marketing. So if somebody is going to function in that capacity, you are carrying the image of the brand where you go. So you want to sell the brand, that's why you want to sell the product and the services of the brand. You yourself first should be sellable. Your presentation should be sellable. Should be receptive. Like it's not like your presentation or your demeanor is repulsive, and you want to sell something, you want to sell the brand. So it doesn't work that way. So while the candidate is on site interview, we are paying close attention as HR persons to a lot of very much information, not necessarily only about questions. So we're asking you questions just to engage, and not only just to engage. We want to hear how you respond to questions, how you answer to questions, how you handle objections, and the rest of that, and other people's opinion. Most people, when they get opinion of others, they flare up or they react to it negatively. So want to identify all this. So this is what interviewing does. So interviewing, like we say in a nutshell, is having structured conversations, right? It is structured because from this we get to this, from this we get to this. Want to ask you some questions. They are already structured, they are planned. It's not like it's coming to us at impulse. No, we're not discussing at impulse. We have structured the question. And if we say it's 30 minutes, it's practically 30 minutes. If it is a 1 hour interview, it is a 1 hour interview. And we're having this conversation. Yes, it might be heated, might be coming from different perspectives. But want to see how you're going to react from different perspectives. This one throws you questions from here, that one throws you. So trying to push you off balance. So it might just be the one that maybe we're trying to also test for your coordination. And this is getting up to 5 questions at the same time. Like you're not true. The candidate is not thrown off balance and saying discussing telling all the HR manager, wait first, everybody should just calm down. So those kind of situations, we want to see the ability to manage um, cases like that. Okay, so now let's go ahead to discuss the various types of interviews. So we have the internal interviews, we have formal and that's planned interviews, we have partnered interviews, we have non-directive interviews, we have depth interviews, stress interviews, and so on. So okay, now let's start with the informal interview. So the informal interview is practically is unplanned, right? And it may take place anywhere and with the employer, the HR ask a few questions. So now, this informal interview um, take for often time um, uh, as we may have also experienced this where our phone just rings and maybe we submitted an application somewhere and our phone just rings. So it's unplanned, right? Somebody just calls you, hello, my name is this, I'm a HR from this particular, I've got the application for this role. We would like to ask you a few questions, right? Instantly, you're answering questions. So it kept you off guard. They want to see how you're going to reply, how you're going to, like, you're caught off guard. How do you manage such situation? How do you reply? Are you like, wait, I need like 5 minutes, I need 10 minutes to put myself together. That's already a red flag. So now, but I ability to take it on immediately and to respond to it and uh, to handle the situation and respond to the questions is a sign of proper coordination. So now, of course, there might be other instances where people are not in uncoordinated environments, possibly if the person is on site or on the field where there's so much noise, but that's a different scenario, right? That's a different scenario. Unlike where everywhere is calm, but possibly maybe you're just caught off guard and the candidate cannot just speak properly, cannot coordinate properly. Then formal or planned interview. Of course, this is where there is you get a formal invitation or an invitation is sent to you via text message, via email, or whatever, in any format. So it's just sent to you and you get it, you confirm your availability, then you participate maybe virtually or on site. Then all the due process and protocols are followed. So that's a planned interview. But let's say a patterned interview. Now, the pattern interview here is trying to work on accuracy, precision, exactitude, and the rest of that. So now, take for instance, like I just talked about now. So there, where some the purpose of the interview also determines the type of interview that is method of interview that to be used to administer that. So now we can just say, okay, maybe this one is a job that requires high coordination, where calls come in at when you don't you least expected it. So that's the same way we are going to be doing. if you're going to be dealing with clients who call you randomly or who just that's exactly how we're going to pass the test to you. So we'll see how you're going to respond or what you're going to be doing about it. Then we'll go ahead to talk about the next one, non-directive interview. So now this non-directive interview is designed to let the interviewee speak his or her mind freely in order to sell their potentials. So in this place, we just want to say, okay, tell me about yourself. Just talk. Go ahead and talk. Like go ahead, be freely, have a conversation. Then sometimes it could just be about, okay, we just want to have a chat. It's not necessarily a full interview where there's a deep protocol and the way we are structuring our questions and the rest of that. So it's just a chat. So in that chat, can just be discussing, saying a whole lot of things, but we're because of the kind of rule we want you to feel, and we just bring you. Okay, and this is just there discussing. There are some people who have gone for interview to discuss with the management, and while they are there discussing with the management is talking about, did you watch this football? Have you traveled before? Have you? Sometimes not related to the job, and you think they are just wasting their time. No, there are things that they want to ascertain by just be the versatility of such person, the ability to hold conversation or to hold on conversation, even though you have no idea about it. So they just so it might be what the MD wants to ascertain because they believe that everything about the job the HR people must have done taken care of that. So, but when it comes to throwing you off guard, he wants to test that one. Possibly, maybe they may not have gone that area, or he wants to that one is more particular to him. And he's asking, so you just be wondering, where is this one coming from in this conversation? We're supposed to be holding interviews. So you've done your research, you've done this. Maybe he's asking you, you researched about the company. He's not asking you anything related to the company. He's asking you things about the industry, asking about the industry leaders, asking who do you know, this, that, about these events. Did you know about these events, the industry events? Do you some questions and you're saying, how does this relate to the job? And you feel like this is awkward and this is, but you don't know. But the candidates will not does not know that it's a part of their assessments or their reasons or what the management wants to understand about their candidacy. So that's that for each of for every question. There's a purpose, there's motive behind the question, or there's something that the questionnaire wants to ascertain or wants to get as answers. Okay, that's a non-directive information where just conversations are held, but while during that conversation, certain things are being deduced from that conversation. Okay, we talk about depth interview. So this depth interview aims to examine the background and the level of thinking on specific subjects. I just made mention of that while I was talking about that non-directive interviews, where we just talk about raise some topics. So want to understand your level of like how deep are you with regards to this particular field? What do you know about this? So that's what that depth interview does. Then another one is stress interview. So want to see the candidate's ability to handle or to work in conditions of stress or strenuous situations. So because everybody says I can work under pressure, I can work under pressure. On their same, everybody's claiming to be working under pressure. So by the time you even not even when you time you're put under pressure, the person is asking this one's asking, and you just say, you're bulking already. So there's an issue there. So that's for stress interview. Then group interviews, I talked earlier, can bring people together and so they can just react to each other or against each other. Let's see. So each the group of candidates, they are the ones going to be interviewing each other, asking themselves questions. So we just have random people, like we just come together randomly, throwing questions at each other. Let's see how each person is going to react and what this person is going to be saying. Okay, now that said, talk about panel interview. Panel interview where we have an interview panel. So they'll be asking the interviewee they will be asking the question as candidates. So the candidates begin to answer the question. So I think that is that. It helps us understand. All these are the list of the of or types of interviews that can be conducted. So I will take that in summary. I'll say informal interview, formal interview, patterned interview, non-directive interview, depth interview, stress interview, group interview, and finally we talked about the panel interview. So now, after this has been done, once we are done with the interview, we have said, okay, we've come to the conclusion that we have this is the kind of person, this is the candidate we have selected for this role. Of course, from the interview, we come to select a particular candidate or choose a particular candidate for the role. Then that also means that we must have negotiated with the candidates and they are now okay. So it brings us to the place or to placement. So, because once we have concluded on the interview, it means that we're going to be heading to placement to place those candidates. So now, placement in human resources, what actually is it about? So it's the actual posting of an employee to handle specific job functions. Now, we were interviewing for that particular job function. So now they have now been given their posts. So now, oh yeah, this is your post. This is where you're going to be working from and these are your tools and the rest of that. So that's what placement does. All that is required to function effectively in that capacity will now also be provided for them. That is what placement is all about. So placement sees to it that the candidate is working effectively well. Their duties are assigned to them, their roles, responsibilities are assigned to them, key performance indicators is made available. The required training also made, additional training is made, product training is made. So we get all those so they understand their probation period, what is expected of them. They go ahead and engage. The tools that they require, materials, everything that they require to be successful on the role is also made available to them, and they go ahead and implement. So that's actually what placement is all about. So if we're going to say in a nutshell, placement is the actual posting of successful candidates for specific jobs by assigning them to those to a rank and responsibility. So if we assign the rank to them and we assign their responsibilities and they begin to function in that capacity and effectively well. So now significance of placement. Of course, it matches the applicant to the job and improves their morale. It also reduces the employee turnover, the absenteeism, and as well as workplace as accident rate. So now, why is this important? So if you've been giving your posts to work, we don't expect you now. You are giving you are to work as an inventory and procurement officer. You don't leave inventory and procurement, and you are in the factory floor. What are you doing there, right? You're supposed to be at the store, coordinating activities in the store, or you leave the store and you are at the admin block. What are you doing at the admin block? Or you leave the admin block and you're at the security post. What are you doing there? Discussing with security people when it is not even the your break or relaxation time. So these are issues. Then because this will prevent accidents. Because if you are supposed to be in the admin block and you find yourself in the factory. So now you are in the factory floor. If we in the factory floor, we know okay that the people workforce within the factory floor is 100. It means that we have safety gears for 100 people. Yes, we might have additional safety gears for emergencies and also for visiting people and also for other management staff who from time to time want to find their way into the factory to go and verify some issues. That's a different situation. But the active and consistently active safety gears that will be in use as is 100. That is what it is. So now we don't you who is going there, you don't have any business in the factory floor. What are you looking for in the factory floor? It means you're not going to be going with your safety gear. You don't have a safety gear to go in there with. So or maybe you beat the security that's the security check into the factory. That's you beat it into the factory and you moved work within the facility. Maybe or you have someone maybe you say you want to go and report something and they say okay 5 minutes so because you're not with safety care, you let there's the one in security post compromise yeah. So you stay there and if an accident happens, it means that's a major issue. That's a major issue because it's not putting on safety gear. What what were they doing there in the first instance? They have no designation, they have no reason to be in the factory floor in the first instance. So that's that. And at the end of the day, it begins to snowball into a whole lot of issues, disputes, the family, and as well as the government agencies coming to say what were they doing there? Were they supposed to be there in the first instance? So then, at the end of the day, such a situation, of course, worst case scenario would be to now shut the factory for some period and for a proper assessment by the government agencies, so that to prevent or to forestall such situations from happening next time. So that's why it's always important that those employees will always stay at their designation. So as safety or as HR personnel, of course, it's also part of our duties to work with admin. That's if admin is separate from the HR. So work with admin to ensure that everybody minds their business and stays where they at their designation and at their post. Okay, so that's said. So go ahead. It also enables employees to achieve predetermined objectives of the organization. Of course, with placement, you know what is expected of you as a workforce or as an employee, and you implement the same. Okay, that's it brings us to last point what we're talking about, which is induction. So now we have considered the all that we've done thus far, and we are currently at induction. So if we have repeated and we have placed, then we're not going to do doing the induction. So what exactly is induction here? So I want us to go ahead and talk about that. So induction here practically means the process of helping the employee or the new recruits to familiarize with the new role and the working environment. So that's what induction practically means. Helps them settle into the role, helps them settle into the environment, right? So people are not used to this. These are new people. They are not used to this work environment. So we want to help them to get used to the work environment. So it means that that's what the induction process helps them with, to settle into the new role and also to settle in with the um, as with their job role and as well as with the environment. So now the induction process is often welcoming and also introduces the employees to the existing employees within the organization and also to all the policies, procedures, everything like all everything, the policies and procedures, rules, regulations of the organization, everything, the employee handbook. It is during the induction process that all these things are effectively communicated to the employee. Now, it brings us to the objective. What then is the objective of induction? The objective of one of the among the list of the objectives of induction is to help the new employees overcome anxieties and nervousness with regards to meeting new people. So now, during the induction process, they are, of course, they are taking around, so around the facility, so they get to meet, see this place, see that place, so that every single person knows, okay, this is a no-go area, or this is a restricted area. This you're not supposed to go here. If you don't have this clearance, you're not supposed to pass here. You're not supposed. If you're going to access here, this is the safety gears that you require in case maybe you are asked to go do something. That if you're asked to go do something, seek clearance. This is where to seek clearance. This is where to get to a lot of things. So then we talk about safety. They're taken to safety blocks and know how to communicate and the rest of that. So all these things. So they meet with people. They meet with the required people that they should be interfacing with. So people who, of course, department that does not concern them, there's no point taking them there. Okay, so now that's that. Then it also creates the best positive impression and brand image of the organization. Now, so employees themselves, they get a good, that's the new recruits or the employees, they get a good impression about the organization, and the same it is for people outside of the organization. Then also it promotes loyalty and effective communication as well as relationship amongst the team, amongst the, within the workplace of the organization. So now every single one, every single person, because we've been able to familiarize. I know who to speak to. I know the line of communication I can speak, so I can discuss with. I can effectively communicate or follow through the channel of communication effectively. Then also to provide basic skills level, of course, where trainings are made. Then we are taking through trainings and we are taught about, we have product trainings, we understand the ideas as well as the business properly. So these are the things that it will do. Then go ahead to give new employees the necessary information that they require with regards to the job that they have been hired to do. Then finally on the list is to help them build, that is help the new employees build confidence within the organization as well, and to reduce the labor turnover. So now it builds confidence. All these processes that has been taken through will definitely build employee confidence. So in a nutshell, we would say that we have thus considered basic details on recruitment. So remember when we started, we talked about recruitment in itself, understanding what the recruitment practically means. Then we went ahead to discuss this selection. We handled selection much more detailedly. Then we proceeded to talk about test administration, Then we discussed interviews, we discussed induction and placement and induction as well. So this brings us to the summary of what recruitment is. So now, say in a summary or in a nutshell, the recruitment, like we said earlier, is a search for prospective employer, is a search for talents, is a search for workforce, is a search for skilled people, or is a search for the right talent or the right person to handle a job function for an organization. To when we talk about job function, to handle responsibilities, tasks, to solve problems, to provide solutions for organizations. So that's what the recruitment does. So secondly, we say selection. So because we're saying recruitment and we're saying selection. So recruitment we discussed earlier is the process of searching for that. But selection now is now the process of identifying who among this pool, identifying and choosing who among who among them in the pool in this pool of applications is suitable for the role. So that's the difference between recruitment and selection. So recruitment practically is an all-encompassing. So the process of finding that person. So, but the selection is identifying who that person would be, identifying and choosing who that person would be. So that said, it practically brings us to the last section of the training. So now, please go ahead and ask questions. So if you do have questions, I would like to take them now. So let's have your questions. Let it come true. Okay. Okay. So please drop your network and let's drop your questions. If you have questions, let me. Okay. So it's a questions. So what are the types of interviews? That's pattern interview. What? Okay. So now I will take the types of interviews as again. So I was saying that in the interview, so we have now in the list, there are a total of 8 interviews that we have picked out. So I'm replying to you, that is Chenfo Official. So you asked about the types of interviews that are currently available on this list. So we say we have the informal interviews. So the informal interviews, of course, we say it takes place anywhere and is unplanned. So you just the HR person just stays and places a call across to the candidates. That's informal interview. That's unplanned interview. Then secondly, is the formal one. The formal one is just an opposite of the informal, right? It is planned, right? Where an invitation is sent, we send a reminder, there's a confirmation. So the applicant confirms or accepts the invitation and confirms the availability. Then we go ahead and hold the interview and we have our conversation. So that's a planned interview, right? So we have the unplanned, we have that's unplanned or informal interview, we have the planned and formal interview. Then we'll go ahead to talk about the patterned interview. So in that patterned interview, we'll talk about the sequence, the ways we want to interview with these people. They were saying, okay, they're going to go through screening first, then they go for psychometrics, they'll go for all those, then in the interview questions, they're going to be tested for skills, they're going to be tested for this step. So there's a pattern with which you're going to be testing this. So now, with regards to that, we might say we don't want to follow the same pattern for all, still the same position, but want to follow different pattern because let's say these are the list of things that we need to test them for, but want to use different patterns to test this, that is to pass them through those tests. Now, one of them reasons may be so we can find out the effectiveness of the patterns, or sometimes we can let's just use different patterns or not using the same pattern to test them. So HR1 uses pattern A, HRB uses pattern. So different patterns are deployed. So we can see at the end of the day we'll get the best of the results. So now that's the third one. So I said informal interview, formal interview, patterned interview, then non-directive interview. So now, non-directive interview where the interview is, of course, the candidate is expected or candidate is encouraged to just speak and speak freely. So they go ahead to talk and discuss, just talk about different subjects and the rest of that. Then we talked about the depth interview. Depth interview practically helps the HR, helps us as HR to understand the depth of knowledge or the skills level or how grounded such a candidate is for the job. So they know exactly okay, that. So from the depth interview, we can deduce that this person they understand this they can handle this responsibility very well, because we throw certain challenges or certain situations or scenario to them, and we want to see how they are going to react or how they are going to respond or manage such situation or look for solution to such situation. So this helps us to understand their depth of knowledge with regards to when it comes to that subject. Then six, with stress interview. Then the stress interview, people as everyone's will say I can work under pressure. So the fact is that not everyone can work under pressure. Not everyone can work effectively under pressure. Some people, once under pressure, they can't work effectively anymore. So they make a lot of mistakes, or there's a lot of errors in their work or in their reports, and the rest of that. While for some, while under pressure, they can adequately concentrate and still deliver on the job, right? They are not easily confused, or they're not easily thrown off guard, so they can still work effectively under um, such pressure, so under stress. So in that instance, it helps us with this. So that's stress interview. Then we'll talk about group interview, where we people are interviewed in group. We bring them together, and like maybe we have 5 applicants together. So we're taking the applicants together. So they bring them together. We're asking them questions together. We throw question at this one, throw question at, so each of them just answer with why they are together. So not like they are separated individual. We are taking the interview together as a group, not as a group of HR this time around, but as group of candidates. Then panel interview is more like the opposite of the group interview. So the panel interview, where you have uh, a HR panel that's interview. So the HR panel could be interviewing in group, could be interviewing candidates in group, or could be interviewing candidates individually. So it all depends on whichever form. So I just made a mention of the 8 types of interview now. So I'll take that in general again: informal interview, formal interview, that is third, partnered interview, fourth on the list, four, which is non-directive interview, five, depth interview, six, stress interview, seven is group interview, eight is panel interview. So these are the list of the interview. So I think I've answered your question, Chanfo Official. Okay, so if we do have other questions, I would like to take that now. Please can drop that, and let me quickly wrap it up. Okay. So I think those more possibly, I think it's a network issue. Please kindly turn off your data. Maybe it will improve the reception on your end. So Chris is saying, please, I hope the assessment isn't coming this weekend. And what if the assessments for the training takes place and I'm not available? What will happen? Okay, so the assessments will be dropped. A link will be dropped. An extension is going to be made available for everyone to be able to participate an extended time. So it's going to be made available for everyone um, do the assessment and provide a report on that is submit a report on their assessment. So there's nothing to be afraid about, Chris. So it's been taking note of, practically taking note of that. So I'm going to also make a request for that. So we have an extended timeline for everyone to submit their assessment. Okay, now the next on the list, that's Ebini said, okay, when is the assessment coming up? Okay, of course, when all the trainings are concluded, then it will be shared within the group. The assessment link will be also dropped as well, so each one of us can participate and provide a feedback on the assessment. I think that's said, and there are no more questions. I think I've answered your questions, Mr. Dewali. Okay, so we can just go ahead and since there are no further questions, so we'll just end the session and can proceed. Can wait for the next session, which is tomorrow. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome training with you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for